And welcome back to the Hot Lap. A massive congratulations to a certain Lando Norris. It is a day of first Chinese Grand Prix weekend for 5 years. First time a Chinese driver is in the top 10. Congratulations, Zhao. And Norris's first sprint pole position. I mean, absolutely amazing. Could we get Lando Norris's first ever win? Fingers crossed. So let's get into it. Let's have a look first at the Let's have a look at practice 2, where Lance Stroll was fastest. Yeah, so it was Stroll, Piastri, Verstappen, Perez in 4th, Hulkenberg 5th, 6th Magnussen, 7th Ocon, 8th Albon, 9th Ricciardo, and 10th Bottas. Now the top 9 all within 1 second of each other. And then we had Zhou 11th, Tsunoda, Leclerc, Sainz, Sargent 15th, Norris all the way down, the man that ended up getting pole, 17th Russell, 18th Hamilton, both the Mercedes pretty much, and the Ferraris not really, looking like they wanted to get a fast lap in, 19th Alonso and 20th Gasly. But, oh my gosh, wasn't it a really exciting qualifying session? There was the threat of rain pretty much from the beginning. Did the rain come? Well, yep, someone was rain dancing between Q2 and Q3, because at the end of Q2 it started to spit, but it came down. It came down definitely for the third qualifying session. So this is your grid. We've got Lando Norris in first, Lewis Hamilton in second. At one point, it did look like Lando Norris's lap was going to be deleted because he went off the previous lap at that last corner. And if you know from our Chinese Grand Prix, that last corner is a bit interesting. We can get into that in a bit. And normally when someone goes off the last corner off the track, it's kind of like, well, you're going to have an advantage for the next lap. But obviously, there's gravel there. And yeah, let's be fair, he got no advantage. So it makes sense why it was reinstated. But for a minute there, it was like, oh no. But then Hamilton, second. But Norris, 1 point, like, what is it? What was the gap? I'm not sure what the gap is, but it's like 1.2 seconds or something, the gap. Yeah, it was quite the gap. Now, no Verstappen in the top 3. It was Fernando Alonso in third. And then we had Max Verstappen, who said it just felt like ice. He couldn't get with those tyres. They say the rain is a great leveler. I mean, but I completely believe that. We know Verstappen is really, really solid in the wet, but to be fair, so is Norris and Hamilton. So I imagine they just couldn't get those tyres to work on the Red Bull, which could be interesting if there is if the sprint or the actual race is wet. Sainz in 5th. Perez 6th, Leclerc out-qualified again by Sainz. I mean, Leclerc ended up going off, didn't he? And then smacking, I think in Q3, and smacking his front wing and tyre. I don't know if the front wing was damaged, though, but I know he did come in. They changed the tyres. So, oopsie-daisy, Leclerc. Piastri in 8th, Bottas 9th, Zhou 10th. I mean, yes, Bottas did do a better job than Zhou, but wow, what a race for Zhou. What a quality session for Zhou. Then we've got Russell, just could not get, kind of like Verstappen, his first fastest lap in Q2. It just wasn't good enough. And then by that time, the rain was coming down, and I don't think there's anything he could have done, unfortunately. So, and we've got Hulkenberg in 13th, Ricciardo 14th, Stroll 15th, Gasly 16th. Ocon 17th, kind of where you expected them. I'm a bit disappointed Albon didn't get faster though, but Albon 18th, Tsunoda. Now here's the one. I mean, Ricciardo 14th, Tsunoda 19th. It has flipped a bit. Can Ricciardo keep that up? He's driving, as everyone has suggested, he's driving for his career. Last but not least, Sargent. And let's be fair, I was a bit disappointed that Lance Stroll, 15th. Bear in mind, he was fastest in practice. He's quite solid. I mean, I know I've been not very nice about Lance Stroll of late, but he's fairly solid in the wet. I mean, he got pole in Turkey, didn't he? So there's that story. Bit of a shame, really. If I'm honest, but let's get into our winners and losers. And as you can see, our first winner here, Lewis Hamilton. I mean, what a race! I keep saying race. What a qualifying session. He nearly got pole. I mean, this guy came in and with a fair amount of pressure on his shoulders, nearly got pole on the front row, making it an all British front row. So for your Brits, you now have a reason to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But All credit, I think, also. All credit to this guy here. Yes, he was out-qualified by his teammate, but Zhao Guanyu, absolutely, he went in. There was so much pressure there. He got into the top 10. Yes, Bottas out-qualified him, but I think, bearing in mind the pressure that must have been on this man. Brilliant. Absolutely, absolutely fantastic. Massive thumbs up. But the man of the sprint qualifying, Lando Norris. Yes, you may have got your time deleted, but you kept it in. You kept it there. You did a really solid fast lap. It stayed. Common sense prevailed for once, and he's starting on pole. An all British front row. Okay, let's get into the couple of people that didn't do so well. I mean, you kind of expected George Russell. He's good in the wet. Didn't quite make it out. Bearing in mind his teammate is second and George Russell is 11th. Yeah, not particularly great. And it's the first time I think I've been really disappointed with the Russell. But we've got another chance tomorrow, sprint race, and we've got another qualifying session tomorrow, which may well be interesting. I mean, in relation to the Mercedes, Hamilton said, had it not been wet, there's no way in the dry they would have been that competitive. But even in the practice session, we don't know, because they were just stuck on the hard tyres, so we don't really know how fast Hamilton really would have been. But the other loser here is, no surprise here, I'm not going to say Logan Sargent, because it's Logan Sargent. You know what to expect now. But this man here, Lance Stroll, fastest in the practice session, just didn't make it out. Of I mean, your teammate is third, and you're all the way back down in 15th. Yes. Oh Lance. So let's get into the rest of the news then. So sprint quali, well done, massive, fantastic for Zhao. I mean, yes, we with all that pressure, your first Chinese Grand Prix. I think you couldn't have asked really anything more of him. Yes, Valtteri Bottas did out-qualify him, so a massive thumbs up for Valtteri Bottas. Now, what's interesting here is the track, the story behind the painted track. It was a bit of a surprise. So they've had no notification in the pre-event notes, and this is from motorsport.com, the FIA regarding any resurfacing of this track. And the colour of the asphalt was fairly dark, and it left some concluding that the circuit had a paintbrush to it. Ricciardo said it looks like they've painted the track or something. They've done something to the surface. He said, I don't know how the track's going to change or if it's going to be the same or super slippery, if you remember Turkey in 2020. But he said maybe that changes the way the tyres behave. Now, Ricciardo, he wasn't the only driver questioning what impact would be on a weekend when teams are mindful that there's just 1 hour of practice before sprint qualifying. And world champion Max Verstappen said he hadn't seen anything like it since his karting days. He said it looks like they've painted it and not resurfaced it. Yeah. Carlos Sainz explained that the situation had left drivers a bit confused. He just said, I don't think the FIA or the teams quite understand what's been done here. If it has been a full resurface or just weird bitumen treatment on the track. Research, though, by motorsport.com, it uncovered that while the track looks like it has been painted, what's happened is a bitumen surface treatment that's commonly used on roads in the United States and Asia. And it's applied in fluid, so kind of like paint, to the track surface to help bind with the surface of the existing circuit. And the idea is that it helps eliminate dust, improves waterproofing, and prevents disintegration of the track. And it's understood this work was done in Shanghai last year, and the varied colouring around the track is the result of this treatment having been worn away from track running that has already taken place since. So, fingers crossed, mystery averted, I guess, in a way. We've also got upgrades. Yeah, who has brought the upgrades? Well, you can see a Mercedes wing there. So, yeah, that's one of them. So, while teams are often reluctant to introduce development packages for sprint races, because let's be fair, you've only got that one practice session to even get the setup right, let alone make sure your upgrades work. But interestingly, in the team submissions lodged for the FIA for this weekend's race in Shanghai, 3 outfits have made revisions to the area surrounding the cockpit. So RB, they've reshaped the headrest. Let me just show you here what I'm talking about. This is from motorsport.com. Yeah, RB has reshaped the headrest behind the driver's helmet to help manage the airflow, and that's you can kind of like see it there. And also, Mercedes and Williams have made changes to the halo area, which is also aimed at cleaning up this airflow. There's a picture there from motorsport.com. Now, Mercedes have added a small flick either side of the cockpit cockpit behind the halo, and the idea is that these twigs help generate small vortices to help control the airflow. And there's Williams. The geometry at the forward part of the halo has been adjusted to increase the angle of attack. There you go. Who knew? Who knew? So our next and last story, we've got all about Lance Stroll. Yes, it's all about Lance. What do you mean, pray tell? Well, the Aston Martin boss has admitted, I think this is a quote, this is from planetf1.com, the whole project is around Lance Stroll, and that's amid him maybe exiting Formula One. So Mike Crack confirmed that Lance Stroll is the focal point of the Formula One project at a time where fresh doubt has emerged over his career. Stroll represents one of the more controversial figures on the grid, as while his stellar junior category record, it proved the immense talent, he was talented. In the lead up coming up, there are better drivers, but he wasn't too bad. And as we've seen, there have been flashes of quality for Lance Stroll since he debuted in 2017. They're not very consistent flashes, but they're there. Turkey, pole, 2020, Baku, getting on the podium. So Lawrence has gone on, as we know, to rebrand the team after Racing Point to make it Aston Martin, and he's invested heavily with a goal of World Championship success, with the goal of Stroll, his son, being a world champion. I imagine that's why he did it. But Stroll has struggled against two-time champion Fernando Alonso, more than struggled, I think, been embarrassed really. And Alonso has just signed this new deal. And while few believe Lawrence would fire his son over poor performance, speculation continues that Lance could walk away. But, and this is where Mike Crack comes in, not seeing this happening, he openly admitted the whole project revolves around the 25-year-old. How Daddy buys you an F1 team. Brilliant, isn't it? Speaking to the media ahead of the Chinese Grand Prix, he said, last week it was mainly about Fernando, but we also know that Aston Martin is Lance's home. We know that, and the whole project has always been around him, so we look for continuity. I've always said that it's very important, so we will continue, and we will see in the next few weeks. Everyone at Aston Martin, they're obviously too afraid. I mean, you're not going to have a go at the boss's son, are you? You're not going to say he's slow, he's a bit rubbish. He is slow, he's a bit rubbish. Bearing in mind the odd few performances where he's not really that bad. But they're very odd. Let's be fair, those are very few. And he still makes mistakes that you'd expect someone in their rookie couple of seasons to. And I've always said this, I don't think the world is not going to take Aston Martin seriously, I feel, until they have a better driver in the other seat. Lance Stroll, they had the second best car at the beginning, for the first, a third of the season last year. Didn't even get a podium, did he? But it was all about Alonso. Didn't even look that close to getting a podium most of the time. So yeah, I keep saying, if you were an investor in Aston Martin, if you were on the shareholders or you were on the board, etc., you'd be like, what are we doing? Why is Lance Stroll driving for us? There are so many better drivers out there. Completely agree. Lance Stroll is the Logan Sargent, is the Latifi of Aston Martin. And it's really, it's sad. He does have good performances, but that is not often enough. And now Aston Martin, you can make an argument, is one of the top 5 teams. They're in the top half of the grid. And everyone seems to be really scared about criticising this poor young Canadian boy. Even without F1, he's going to do okay. He's got a really rich dad. I mean, the fact that, yes, he's probably had the best equipment coming up. And, so have a lot of people coming up to Formula One. But I guess you can't buy talent, can you? Unfortunately. So there we go. Many people say you can't polish a turd, but you can roll it in glitter. Now, not I want to compare Lance Stroll to a turd, a poo, but there's only so much you can do with what you've got. If the person doesn't have the talent to stay in Formula One, there's not much more you can do. I would love to see a Lance Stroll being up there. I mean, he's Canadian. He's the only Canadian we've got. I would absolutely love to see Lance Stroll up there fighting, beating people, showing us the talent he's got, showing that spark of talent that we have seen, and be really consistent about it. But we haven't, and it's been a number of years. I'd love to be proven wrong on that front. I'd love him now to, get in the top 6 or 7 after the sprint race. He's very good. He does really, really good starts. But I think at this point, if Aston Martin want to be taken seriously, you can't have Lance Stroll in your team. Is that too harsh? Comment below. Let me know. Maybe it is. I don't think it is, though. I don't think it's too harsh. I mean, when you just see how brutal, for example, Red Bull. If he was in a Red Bull, he'd be gone by now. He'd be gone by now, wouldn't he? Anyway, that's enough from me. We will speak to you soon. Stay tuned for more action. We'll be speaking probably after the sprint and qualifying, because I don't think there's no point doing a video in between the two. So stay tuned here. Stay here at the Hot Lap for more Chinese Grand Prix action. Thank you very much.